In an explosive new clip, Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois is calling for mass protests and mass disruption in response to the authoritarian scofflaw extremism that we are seeing from the Republican Party. I have to tell you, I love this. And Pritzker's message was crystal clear. Take a listen.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption. But I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
This is not what you tend to hear from sitting governors, particularly, to be honest, billionaires like J.B. Pritzker. This is really a peaceful call to arms, metaphorical arms. He's being very clear at a time when many Democratic leaders are sort of frozen in place and hoping that norms are going to hold up against the political movement that's trying to bulldoze them. Pritzker is tapping into a strategy that has defined most major movements for justice in American history. There's an entire section in my book, The Echo Machine, about activism techniques that have worked in the past. These mass protests are not just a symbolic gesture. They really are how change happens in the United States. You look at the labor movement, the civil rights movement, anti-war protests, marriage equality protests. None of those victories came from quietly trusting that it's going to happen on its own. We don't have to do anything. Those victories were the result of millions of people organizing and mobilizing and marching and disrupting business as usual in the United States and forcing those in power to listen peacefully without committing any crimes. When power feels invincible, mass protests can be an equalizer. They drag the injustice out into the open. It can break media bubbles. It can expose hypocrisy, and it can force into every corner of American life where comfortable ignorance once lived a sort of recognition of what the hell it is that is going on out there. One of the other aspects of what I write about in the book is how protest, undeniable, visible mass protest, can also disrupt the carefully engineered feedback loops that political media ecosystems depend on. In an age where outrage is monetized and truth is fragmented, the mass action that J.B. Pritzker is talking about can create a sort of too big to ignore reality that cuts through the noise. It becomes the noise, essentially, and it will even force hostile media to cover it. Now, hostile media will tend to cover mass protests as, look at these jobless lowlifes looting or whatever. This is part of why it makes sense not to do any looting, of course. But it is one of the few ways to get both sides of the media talking about what is going on. And it can pull the focus away from the sanitized talking points and really give us the stakes of the fight. Republicans understand this, by the way. And this is why Republicans work so damn hard to criminalize protesting and to portray it as dangerous, violent, or illegitimate, or, just the demands of unemployed people, because they know the record, which is that when Americans have taken to the streets in numbers, the defenders of injustice lose control of the narrative. So when J.B. Pritzker says we can't let them know a moment of peace, he obviously isn't talking about violence. He's talking about civil resistance, megaphones at the rallies, protests at their fundraisers, mass oppositional turnout at their public events, which is, by the way, why many of them have stopped doing town halls altogether, and constant lawful disruption that will remind them and everybody watching the majority of Americans did not consent to the extremism that's being forced upon us right now. I think this is the energy we need. Silence is not neutrality. Silence seems to be surrender, and history has shown us very clearly those who organize, those who speak up, those who refuse to back down, they actually do make change, and that is a phenomenal thing that we need right now. After researching, writing, refining, The Echo Machine, my book, is finally out. This is not just a book about how American politics got so broken. It's also about what's happening right now and what we can still do to stop things from getting worse. Trump's been back in power. The results have been even more catastrophic than many feared, with targeting of political opponents and gutting democratic institutions, laying the groundwork to even further consolidate power. But the thing is that none of this is inevitable. The same forces that brought us here can be countered if we understand how they work and what to do about them. And that's what the Echo Machine is all about. Some say that without corporate media backing, books like this can't succeed. I think we can prove them wrong. You can get the Echo Machine right now at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, or by calling any local bookstore and asking them to order it. This book is more important than ever. If you care about what happens next, and I do, check out The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo.